I'm doing excellent, my brother. How are you too?
I'm greater than Accra. Hubert, I come back to you.
Good morning to our listeners.
Great. Hubert, I come back to you. There's clothes washing machine, industrial fans, rice cookers, all of it are here in the list. These are the things one would say: TV sets, comfort fans, clothes, air conditioners. These are the things that one would say the mob rower, or if you are a national service person, you're now starting up trying to spec up your room. These are the places you go to around the La Paz and the Nima areas to get these things. Did we consider all of them before we came up with this regulation? Hubert, can you hear me?
Yes, Johnny, I can hear you.
Right. Let's hear you. Let's hear your response.
Right. So, as a matter of fact, it is about these products coming into the country that should meet the minimum performance standards. I think Ghanaians deserve better in terms of the quality of products coming in. Definitely, the Energy Commission is not against circular economy. And Johnny, it's important to make this point that for the products that are entering into the country, the requirement is to meet the minimum performance standards, after which internal tradings can go on. And that is what is happening in the European circles, where the argument is that even there are pawn shops where used appliances are being sold in the US and in the UK. That is only because the UK does not import second-hand refrigerators and air conditioners into their country. They bring them in as brand new, and then eventually they can have the circular economy happening in there. And that is exactly what we are asking, that for the products to enter into the country, they have to meet a certain minimum energy performance. And then the internal tradings can go on as a country that we have as Ghana.
Well, I come to you now. You are a trader within the space. How did you receive the news of this regulation? Hello, Awal. Awal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Right. How did you receive the news of this regulation?
So we from day one have been part of the regulation, and it's something we've always been looking out for. For us, we are looking at the safety aspect of all this. We know for a fact, and to start with, I'm a professional infrared thermographer and then a part test expert. This is to say that I'm a professional electrical safety expert, right? So from safety point of view, we have always seen electrical issues to be mostly related to the quality of appliances. So we've always been pushing for regulation in this space. So we're very happy when we saw that the Energy Commission has approved a number of regulations to kind of regulate the kind of appliances that should come into the country. Now, Johnny, out there, it is actually a mandatory requirement for appliances to be tested from now and then. And in UK and elsewhere, it's actually annual. So, and basically what they are seeking to establish is the safety of the appliance. Duty holders are held responsible when people find themselves, when people's life is compromised or are compromised as a result of use of inferior or faulty electrical appliances. So what they do is they cause for such appliances to be tested annually. And what happens is when the appliance begins to fail, in order to first of all avoid that kind of unexpected downtime and all that, people just plan to do away with those appliances. Our research has established that most of the appliances that come into this country are mostly appliances that have been rejected elsewhere, appliances that have failed what we call part test. So when those appliances come into the country, we don't have any means of establishing their safety with respect to the electrical bit of it. Some time ago, when I put up my new building and I was moving in, I was driving around town and I saw somebody park some washing machines. I pulled over and went there and told him that, Master, I want to buy a washing machine, but if you allow me to test it, if it passes the minimum requirement, I will buy it. The guy allowed me. I tested it, and frankly, it passed. I bought it. But how sure are we that all these appliances that come into our country meet this safety requirement? So for us, we are not looking at the energy efficiency. We are looking at safety. I don't think it is worth it to buy anything that will put your life in danger.
I come to you again, Hubert. So the question then is, this is supposed to have been in effect since November 2022, correct?
Yes, so that is the date of entry, exactly.
And since
the regulation made a provision for a 1-year transition, and so the effective enforcement is November 2023.
Between then and now, what exactly have you been engaged in? Because Guta is asking for you to hasten slowly. Is it a good call from Guta?
Quite interestingly, Guta have conceded that they asked us to be scientific in our approach. And what Energy Commission has done is only being scientific by adopting international best practice, which is to come up with standards and labeling for electrical appliances. Guta's concern was that we would be biased to say that the used products are inefficient. They don't want to hear the word used. And Johnny, when you read the regulation, it sets minimum energy performance for appliances.
Right.
And so regardless of how you decide to describe your product, we are saying that if it is used, you have to submit a performance test report to indicate that it meets the minimum performance standard. If it is new, you have to go through the same process, because I have mentioned that we have new substandard appliances. And so the discussion has always been, why is the used dealers up in arms? Why are the brand new dealers not up in arms? Because the allegation is that the new products coming in are even not durable. They are substandard.
Right.
So you realize that the role of the Energy Commission is to play the role of a referee between the Ghanaian importer or any importer and the manufacturer who is providing the goods to the importer, to make sure that these products meet the minimum performance standards. Now, if they do, we will give you the green light to import them into the country. If they do not, we will tell you that they do not meet the minimum performance standards. Now, once you import it into the country, the Energy Commission becomes a referee between the importer and now the consumer. And Johnny, you would agree with me that the consumer is you and I, including the importer. So why do we want people to look at just the interest of how much profit they'll be making at the expense of a Ghanaian who has saved enough to buy an appliance only to be told that this is substandard? I think the Ghanaian consumer also deserves better, and the Energy Commission is just playing its role to protect the market and also transform the appliance market.
What happens if I have 2 40-footer containers coming in? It gets to the Tema port, and then I'm told that the things I have do not meet a certain minimum standard. What happens to my things?
Right. So the regulation is very clear that before the items arrive in the country, you need the pre-arrival approval. And Johnny, this is very important so that importers don't go and bring the goods before they start encountering this. You need the approval before you go to bring the goods. Now, having said and asked the question you did, if the items arrive into the country, it will be cleared under detention and samples taken to the Ghana Standards Authority, whom we are working very closely with. They will test it. If it passes, you will have to label the appliances. If it fails the test, the regulation is clear that these items will have to be re-exported at the cost of the importer. Now, in a case where the importer is not able to re-export it, these items will be forfeited to the state and the importer surcharge for bringing in substandard appliances.
Now, I'm talking about, I'm sure you're talking about maybe a one product in a 40-footer container. I'm talking about those containers that have the United Nations kind of appliances. So there's iron, there's rice cooker, there's fridge, there's blender, there's hair dryer, there's a clipper for haircut, there are all manner of things in there. how do you pick the samples? And then, because these are individual items, Hoover here, this one there, this one there. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. How then do you pick the samples to take it there? Because the iron you may pick maybe from brand A and another second-hand iron maybe from brand B or C.
Exactly. And Johnny, that is why we are saying that before you bring these items, you need to plan what you are doing as an importer. You need the prior approval to do that, to bring the products in. Now, if the goods come into the country, the regulation has added customs as part of the stakeholders, the enforcement agency. And so all these items are supposed to be physically examined, and the items will be redrawn and samples taken. But Johnny, it has revealed a lot about what is happening in our ports. And you can understand why these people are up in arms. Our revelation through joint examination with the customs has shown that these dealers do not even pay the requisite duty. And Johnny, it's really a shame that you call yourself a businessman, an importer, and you are smuggling goods into the country. I'm sure you bear with me that the law that bans the importation of used fridges, LI 1932, was passed way back in 2008.
That's right.
It is not now that this law was passed. A transition was given and full enforcement started only in 2013, since 2008. And so the community or the importers had enough time to make or look for alternative business. Today, when you walk through La Paz, Kaneshi, we still see used fridges. And the question that we keep on asking is, where did they come from?
So,
Johnny,
so who are you faulting now? Are you faulting the importers or those at the ports? Because there's the NIB at the port, there's the police, there's the military, there's customs division of the GRA. There are all manner of persons, national security there. Who exactly are you faulting?
Exactly. So what we are saying is that the law that mandated us to do that has only been revised to make it more punitive. And so Energy Commission is responsible for enforcing this. And we are telling Ghanaians to allow the institution do its work. We don't want situations where it will now be blame game. Who is responsible for this activity? And so the Energy Commission has taken proactive measures to be able to enforce the regulation to the latter, so that institutions are not held responsible when there are issues in the country.
When the Energy Commission started this whole education thing, I remember in the mid-2000s, which was when this ban on used fridges was put in there, bring your old fridge, come and swap for a new one, and all those conversations. Has the Energy Commission been involved in any conversation to say, let's start manufacturing these things here, so we don't necessarily have to import and go through the rigorous process of trying to check whether they meet a certain standard or not? But once they are produced here, we know what standards we are looking for, which is good for our climate and consumption and all of that. Have you been interested in that conversation?
Exactly, Johnny. And I think that is where the discussion should be channeled toward. How do we, as a country, look forward to all of this happening? And so, as you rightly mentioned, during those days when we came up with the incentives of a rebate scheme, it was to be able to support Ghanaians to be able to turn in their used appliance to be able to purchase a new one at a discount. And it was a very successful program. These are all programs, incentives we want to replicate when it comes to the idea of people not being able to take care of the initial cost. We have also come up with projects like the eco fridges, where the upfront cost of the appliance is paid for by a participating bank, and you, the salary worker, has a period of 12 months to pay at 0% interest. So there are interesting financial mechanisms coming in. We also had a research was done, a study was done in terms of setting up assembling plants and manufacturers here in Ghana, and it was feasible. Unfortunately, the recommendation was that as far as you still have used, obsolete appliances being imported into the country, there is no way a manufacturer will thrive in the country, because you are allowing people to bring the substandard, and as Engineer Wal mentioned, items that are meant for recycling in Europe are brought here into Ghana. And how does an assembling plant survive in this situation? So the Energy Commission, through one district, one factory, I mean, these are all opportunities people can take advantage of. As we speak, some companies have taken advantage to start assembly.
Right.
So they are bringing in knockdown units to be able to do this. But Johnny, the question is, how will they survive if we still allow used, obsolete appliances into the country or brand new substandard goods into the country? And so all we have done is just to come up with minimum performance standards to regulate the market.
I'll ask you
an open field for that.
I'll ask you a final question, and then I'll go to Engineer Wal for his closing comments and maybe two questions quickly. Because you mentioned recycling, do we have the requisite capacity as a country presently to recycle all the things that are brought in? Iron, pressing iron, microwave oven, blenders, rice cookers, fridges, TV, computer, CPU, all those things that you see. Do we have the requisite capacity to be able to recycle them so they don't become a danger to us, Mother Ghana?
Unfortunately, no. And that is the sad story, Johnny. And that is the more reason why we cannot keep on allowing these used obsolete appliances come into the country. However, agencies such as the Environmental Protection Agency is mandated to come up with a whole scheme to be able to handle end-of-life products of the appliances that are already in the country. And so the point is that between we and the Europeans, who has the facility to recycle? Of course, they have. So why do you bring in items that are meant for recycling in Europe here in Ghana, all because you want to salvage some components from it? The question is, what happens to the debris? And that is why we are saying we do not have that capacity to even do recycling here. So why then do you allow used obsolete appliances to come in? But we can make provisions for the new appliances that meet the minimum performance to come into the country. Eventually, it can be traded within as the circular economy. And then the EPA can also come up with their recycling and then collection scheme that can help the nation. Just like we have waste, like Zoom Lion is doing. They can come and take your waste and go and destroy it. And that is the whole scheme EPA is trying to come up with as a country, so that we manage our own waste that we create and not import the waste into the country. And so, Johnny, the discussion virtually is the Energy Commission has considered the fact that people are in business. This is livelihood we are talking about, but we are also saying that importers should be responsible for the kind of appliances they are bringing into the country. And if they are confident about the appliances they are bringing, I don't think they should have an issue with this regulation at all.
In all of this conversation, do you have the repairers at the heart of anything? Fridge repairers, iron, fan, wayside, you see them. Do you have any plans for them while you try to enforce this law?
Exactly. So what is happening is that the Energy Commission believes in institutional collaboration, which is one thing that has been lacking in this country. Every institution is doing its own things in silos, but you have to collaborate. And so the EPA trains these repairers to be even able to handle the refrigerant. So for example, some of the refrigerants in the air conditioners are flammable. And so if you don't train these repairers, you would end up having accidents coming in as a result of efficient.
But eventually, when you ban and we are not importing these anymore, there will be a lot of jobless people who hitherto were repairers. What is the plan for them? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, Johnny, okay. So that is where the discussion is going. But the point of correction is that remember that the new products coming in or the products that meet the standards will still have an issue which repairers will have to work on.
But the frequency of the repairs will not be, because if the product is at its end life, the frequency of the repairs will not be as frequent as a product that is new and which will take about 4 or 5 years before it goes to see a repairer, correct?
Rightly so. Yes, so the point again is that most of these repairers that are bringing in the end-of-life products end up only salvaging components from it. And we ask the question, what happens to the debris? I mean, all the information shows that they give it to the scrap dealers who come to pick it.
Okay.
And the scrap dealers, if not for the recent issue at Agbogbolosyi, that is where we find them. And they are burning these items, which are causing environmental impacts, harmful to these citizens as well.
Hubert,
so Johnny, we should look at the bigger picture.
Right.
And I think the Energy Commission is taking a proactive measure to be able to protect the consumer in the country.
Thank you very much, Hubert. Zan is Assistant Manager, Energy Efficiency Regulation, Energy Commission. Awal is still on. Awal Sakib Mohammed, engineer. You spoke earlier about testing, and you saw somebody's washing machine. You had to test and confirm if the washing machine was great or good for use indeed. How many of your people are available to do this testing for us all to know that we are safe and secure from all alarm? Awal. Hello, Awal. Hello, Awal. Well, unfortunately, we don't have Awal back on the line. I'm sorry about that. Awal Sakib Mohammed, Ghana Electrical Contractors Association, joined us here. Well, we're wrapping up. Guys, Helen, women premier.
Well, yes. We'll do
yes. Yes. 44 minutes after 9 here on 3FM 92.7. It is the Sunrise Morning Show. Be reminded that at 10 a.m. Black Rasta, Bongo Clippings, King of Kochoko music, will be here in flesh and blood. Oh, Father Lord, protect this our chair. Amen. This our chair that we use here every morning. Giovanni, myself, Alfredo Kansi, Akofa, Dela Michelle. We come together, we unite, we pray for the chair. Because Black Rasta has been using the chair. Like, as in using the chair. Women premier, Helen.
Yes, we advertised Amadatsin for the morning. Unfortunately, we'll have to push that back. But we do have Vivian of Live Cosmetics coming up.
Vivian.
Straight into Womanpreneur. It's a glorious Tuesday morning. I have another exciting Womanpreneur in the